Hey, welcome back to Stock Talk with Eric Anthony. Happy Monday. I know today was pretty brutal in the market, all red across the board. If any of you guys were like following up with like what was going on in cryptos, the writing was kind of on the wall with the news that came out with Celsius and then Binance with them just kind of locking things up. I'm not going to get too much into the red that's going on today. It's funny, I actually got like an alert right as I'm setting everything up for this video right now, and it says Bloomberg that it seems that a bear market is here, and one of the main things you want to do is, let me read you exactly. It says the long anticipated bear market is finally here. And these are some of the steps that you can take with your stocks. First and foremost, keep cool. Well, great advice. So anyway, if you guys want more information on a bear market, I will put a link below and you guys can listen to some of the steps that Bloomberg has out for you to follow. I think for many of us that are in the growth sectors, this bear market has been around almost since February 2021. So to get a pop-up like that really doesn't do that much for me personally, but it is what it is. Anyway, welcome back to Stock Talk with Eric Anthony. Today, like I said, we're not going to review too much of the market, but I do want to review the EV market and just like everything red. But as you can see, we've added a new player to the list that we follow here, and that company's name is BYD. The reason why I've added BYD to the list of EV plays that I will be following now on the channel is because there's some interesting things that have been coming out and how they're leading the way out in China. And reminder, BYD is not only a battery maker, but they're one of the leading EV manufacturers out in China. So again, today's video will cover BYD, the recent revealed partnership with a major automaker out here in the United States. We'll discuss their Blade battery, and we'll also discuss their market cap as well as some of their price action recently since all this has come together. Another reason why I want to bring BYD to your attention is as an investor in many battery plays, including lithium recycling and solid state batteries, I thought this story has actually been pretty captivating because it's going to give you a pretty good idea of some of the time frames of just how fast things can move and just how slow things can move in that same breath. All right, so again, hopefully this video will allow you to get a better understanding of why when we hear some of the news that comes out or some of the rumors, you really want to just kind of take it for what it is and ultimately do your homework. But more importantly, before you decide to shell out and start buying or going all in on some of your plays, just because you may have heard a rumor, it's good to maybe kind of take into consideration just how long some things take before it all kind of comes together, and ultimately getting a better idea of how that can affect the share price. Because just because you hear about a rumor today, you don't think that you're going to miss out, and you're going to miss out on all the gains possible because it's going to happen overnight. There's only been a few instances where I've heard something, the day before, and the next day the stock just went boom. And I think the most recent one that I've heard of was with DWAC, and that was like same day. Hopefully this video will kind of just tame some expectations and not only allow us to get an idea of how long things take to come together, but it will also give us a better idea of what's happening in the battery space. Another thing that you can take from this video is, okay, some of this news came out in 2020. It's now 2022, and I'm barely seeing some of that price action hit as we will talk about a little bit later in the video. All right, well, again, that's just a little background on BYD, why I think it's important. Stick with me. The video will be made up of two parts. So let's get into it. Buffett-backed BYD jumps ahead of Tesla in the battery metal push. China's BYD Co. is once again the largest shipper of electric vehicles in the world's top market after rivals including Tesla Inc. were disrupted by Shanghai's lockdown. The Warren Buffett-backed car producer is also working on plans to deliver a long-term advantage over competitors aiming to become more directly involved in the mining of lithium, the raw material that's crucial for EV batteries. In this chart right here, it really just shows you point blank exactly how the movement of BYD in comparison to Tesla with their deliveries have gone over the past few months. And just look how drastically that drop off has come And we probably can give a lot of that credit, unfortunately, to the lockdowns that happened out in Shanghai. In March, BYD agreed to invest up to just under $450 million in the Chang'an Lithium Group Co., a supplier that has projects and interests in China's Sichuan province and locations including Indonesia and Argentina. In January, the auto firm won a contract to produce the metal in Chile, the world's #2 lithium producer. A Chinese media report last week suggested the automaker is dramatically accelerating the strategy by striking a deal to buy 6 mines in Africa capable of producing enough lithium for more than 27 million EVs. That could be sufficient to cover BYD's lithium demand for the next 10 years, according to the report by the paper, a Chinese digital newspaper. BYD's reported shopping spree in Africa indicates the car maker expects a prolonged lithium shortage. Automakers are contemplating ever closer involvement in the supply chains, including in the mining of refining of key battery metals after a year of escalating costs that have pushed many manufacturers, including BYD, to raise sticker prices. Remember, we've talked about this before. Tesla has increased its prices on every model just recently. So again, you guys have to kind of probably take into consideration the reasons for those increases. Probably not only due to the inflation things that we deal with here in the States, but maybe a lot of it has to do with some of what's to come with this lithium shortage. One measure, lithium prices had an eye-popping rally of almost 500% in a year. And metals remain elevated now, even with some early signs that the gains are cooling off. EV battery prices are expected to tick up this year for the first time in more than a decade, and broader inflation can delay the point at which electric models are as affordable as conventional cars. Bloomberg NEF expects a decade-long decline in battery prices to end this year. And if you go back from 2010 and all the way up until now, you can see that the volume-weighted average lithium-ion battery pack price has actually just been dropping. And now we're getting to a point of inflection where we're actually going to be turning that U going back up. Though Elon Musk tweeted in April that Tesla might actually have to get into mining and refining directly at scale, and said that 2 years ago the company had acquired rights to a lithium clay deposit in Nevada, the company has mainly focused on sealing future supply agreements with existing producers. And some of these producers include Lionstown Resources, and actually just confirmed today that they are developing a project out in Africa and expect to begin shipping to Tesla in 2024. There are potential pitfalls for auto producers considering a leap into commodities production themselves. The mining sector has a patchy record of delivering projects as planned. A wave of resource nationalism is complicating developments in some key nations, and ESG investors are closely scrutinizing extractive industries over potential environmental damage. And that's why ABML, for all my ABML investors, that's why ABML has been so attractive to me, and that's why I continue to build my position in this company, because I know it's not something that's going to bloom overnight, and I know it's not going to happen probably within a foreseeable future, but I am a huge fan of the company, especially with how they have their hands not only in mining, but ultimately in recycling of lithium. They believe the biggest challenge for all automakers, especially for the next decade, will be to try and secure sufficient raw materials. And again, that's why I think recycling raw materials instead of trying to just put all your energy into mining will have a huge impact in the market. According to this article, the best solution would be for car makers to lock in more long-term agreements with the industry's major producers like Albemarle Corp, Ganfeng Lithium Co., which have the most ability to bring on new supply. Investing in junior miners who have never produced lithium or new technologies is relatively more risky and could result in not being able to secure enough lithium. I feel like this kind of news can be helpful to a lot of us as investors to kind of keep in mind, okay, well, if we know there might be a lithium shortage, what can this ultimately do to the EV market in the future? What can it do to the pricing of it? And ultimately, what can it do to consumer, public consumer sentiment? And does that mean as time goes on, will we find EVs becoming so expensive that some of us, delay our plans on buying the EV card that we had in mind in the next 5 years if we know that it's going to possibly be outpriced for the foreseeable future? But anyway, those are just some of the things that I think about as an investor, especially as we hear some of this news, and how we might determine some of our long-term positions that we have built already and how we continue to build those positions, or do, when we hear some of this news, Is this an opportunity to build a new position, such as in BYD? Or do we stick to our guns and maybe just, double up on something such as ABML? Or, maybe we feel like a little scared and we're like, oh, wait, maybe we don't need to go all in on Tesla right now because there's a strong possibility that Tesla may have a lithium problem on their hands and their market might get outpriced. And we already know that with Tesla specifically, some of their deliverables have been pushed back to 2023 for many of their models, and that's not including the Cybertruck. This is just including the models that they have right now. Since we're talking about BYD and Tesla, as many of you guys know, Tesla has been discussing the idea of a stock split. If approved, this will be Tesla's second split in less than 2 years. The company executed a 5-for-1 stock split in 2020, leading to a 60% surge in the share price from the day of the announcement to the execution date. Now, keep in mind, that was during a very, very strong bull market at that. Right now, what's being discussed and what will be voted on in the first week of August will be the possibility of a 3-to-1 stock split. And right now, with Tesla being in the 600 range, 600, 700 range, you can get an idea of where that share price will be if it is passed. And again, just remember, as we got word from our little Bloomberg alert, apparently we're in a bear market, if any of you guys didn't know. So just because we have a stock split today doesn't mean that something's going to go up 60% overnight. On a more friendly note with regard to crypto is that Chipotle has now recently revealed that they will be accepting crypto as a form of payment through a third-party app. Okay, so the Bloomberg article does a great job of explaining what BYD has in store, and I want to take some time to go into exactly what the Blade battery technology is. The new Blade battery was developed by FinDreams Battery, an independent subsidiary of Chinese automaker BYD, which is also a major supplier of EV batteries to other automakers. In April, now mind you, this is April of 2021 when what this article is referring to. BYD announced that all of its future fully electric vehicles will use the new Blade battery. BYD unveiled its Blade battery in March 2020. With it, the company aims to completely end the safety issues of EVs, such as battery fires. The proprietary Blade battery design resembles a sword or saw blade with positive and negative terminals at each end. Although a saw blade can easily be flexed from side to side, it's rigid when trying to bend up and down. It's this same concept that makes the individual Blade battery cells act as a structural support inside of the battery pack. Once installed in a battery pack, honeycomb structural panels provide sufficient support to the battery pack. Each long battery acts as a support beam, adding strength to the entire pack, according to BYD. The Blade battery was also designed to maximize the use of available space within the battery pack. And they say that the Blade battery offers higher space utilization than a conventional EV battery. Each blade is 96 centimeters long, 9 centimeters tall, and 1.35 centimeters wide. The single cells are arranged together in an array that insert into a battery pack. The design is known as a cell-to-pack technology that eliminates having to use individual battery modules inside the pack that each require a separate thermal management systems and electronics. With this configuration, use of available space is increased by over 50% compared to conventional cylindrical lithium iron phosphate batteries, which gives the batteries a higher energy density as more cells can fit. The other concern that Blade battery addresses is, of course, safety. One of the biggest problems hindering the development of the EV market is the combustion and explosion of lithium ion batteries. And regarding safety, if any of you guys want to have more information on Elecjet and how they passed with BIC doing some of the testing on the batteries, check the videos below, or you can actually check the video prior to this one on the little chart, and you'll get way more information on how Elecjet did with its tests with regarding combustibility, puncturing, and folding. Electric vehicles from Tesla, Hyundai, General Motors, and NIO have all experienced battery fires from overheating. But as an EV adoption ticks upwards, the risk of battery fires only increases unless, of course, EV batteries can be made safer. In February, Hyundai announced it was recalling around 82,000 electrical vehicles to replace battery packs that pose a fire risk. This recall is one of the first major recalls of electric vehicles battery packs by an automaker. Hyundai said that this recall will cost them just under $1 billion. You can see exactly why safety is so important to all the automakers out there. Not only is it important for the life of the driver and the passengers, but it's also important to these companies' businesses, because if they can't get this thing right, it can cost them a pretty penny and ultimately push back production. The Blade battery uses lithium iron phosphate for the cathode material. It offers a higher level of safety than conventional lithium ion batteries, with outstanding strength, range, long life, and power, according to BYD. Lithium iron phosphate is a more stable battery chemistry, even at temperatures as high as 500 degrees Celsius. BYD also said its Blade battery passed other extreme test conditions, including being overcharged by 260%, crushed, bent, and heated in a furnace to 300 degrees Celsius. And none of these tests resulted in a fire or explosion. BYD said it's currently ramping up the production capacity of its Blade battery. The company says that some of the auto industry's key players are beginning to rely on this ultra-safe battery technology. As the leading global automakers partner with BYD's subsidiary FinDreams Battery, the Blade battery is set to be successfully installed in EV models of mainstream brands, including Tesla. Now again, mind you, this article came out almost 2 years ago, and we just come to find out just last week that the deal is actually done between BYD and Tesla. 2 years ago. Keep that in mind. It takes a long time it just takes a long time before things finally get into fruition, especially for businesses that are dealing with each other overseas. Okay, so this following article came out on June 8th. As of now, a senior BYD executive has basically confirmed the existence of the deal. Now we are in good friends with Elon Musk because we are preparing to supply batteries to Tesla very soon. And with the BYD partnership, you can imagine that the cattle relationship between Tesla and CATL will probably come to an end. And I don't know about so much coming to an end, but definitely will reduce its dependency on cattle, the California Austin company that focuses on lithium iron phosphate batteries. Tesla disclosed that nearly half of the vehicles it's produced in the first quarter were equipped with LFP batteries, a cheaper rival to the nickel and cobalt-based cells that dominate in the West. Okay, so now let's jump into some of the price action for BYD. And if any of you guys want to know where BYD is and how to maybe get your hands on some shares, the company trades in the OTC market under BYDDY. As at the time of this recording, it's trading just about $75.41. And if any of you guys are wondering about the market cap for BYD, that market cap is 1.06 trillion HKD. And what is HKD? If any of you guys don't know, that means Hong Kong dollar. And what's that conversion rate? Well, check it out right here. For every 1 Hong Kong dollar, that equates to about 13 cents in US dollars. So if you guys want to take the time to do the math, go right ahead. Let's check out the chart for BYD and how it's been actually over the past month. Now that a lot of what was coming in, what was being discussed years ago, is now all kind of coming together. And as you can see, we have BYD up just under 30%. And this was on Friday when this image was taken. But at that time, this was right before everything kind of, went through the haywire with crypto. And it almost seems like we're in the crypto winter, right? So who knows? Let's get back to what's going on with BYD. Now, not only have they been up just under 30% over the past month, they've gotten much more attention out in the market. They're leading the way with their deliverables out in China. And I think that's another thing we want to keep in mind, that BYD is a huge company out in China. And with that being said, it's heavily invested from its government, from the CCC. And that's another thing you want to keep in mind is we know that out here in America, we would like to make as many things American made and lessen our dependency on other foreign countries with regard to main materials that are required to allow certain sectors to boom, such as the EV space. And if any of you guys know, we know that this administration is looking to inject a lot of money in the EV space, not only with batteries and a lot of it's being pushed to certain automakers not including Tesla, but we do know that this administration is willing to inject money into the battery space, as they know that we have a very heightened dependency on China right now in this space. So I hope that this video has provided you guys some insight on who BYD is, how they've impacted the EV market, how they're leading the way in China. More importantly, I hope that this video has given you an idea of just exactly how long it can take for some things to come together. And if any of you guys don't know, BYD also manufactures their vehicles. They're not just the battery makers. So I want to make sure that doesn't get lost in transition, but they also will have a Tesla Model 3 rival that will be coming out relatively soon. Check out this image. Buffett-backed BYD leaks the specs of its Model 3 competitor, and it's called the BYD Seal. And this will soon take on the Tesla Model 3 directly, as the largest EV maker there has leaked the specs of its upcoming BYD Seal electric sedan in a regulatory approval filing. The BYD Seal specs include single and dual motor configurations and an innovative blade battery, while its price will undercut the Model 3 by a wide margin. And mind you, BYD not only will take on Tesla in the Model 3 and in the sedan space, pretty safe to say they're leading the way in the $25,000 range EV vehicle space as well. So again, if you guys want more information on BYD or where some of these articles came from, like always, I will leave some links below so you guys can do deeper readings, because some of these articles are pretty long. I'll leave the article to the Bloomberg article, to the Bloomberg Green article that we discussed earlier, and now I'll leave you guys some links to some of the recent leaks regarding the BYD Seal. All right, well, like always, thank you so much for checking in with Stock Talk with Eric Anthony, and I'll see you mañana.